Liverpool versus Barnsley, December 1982. In this video we rewind to 1982 and a League Cup match between the Barnsley Tykes and Liverpool. Up to 17,000 Barnsley fans descend on Anfield for what was to be an unforgettable night. Let's hear the stories. Barnsley fan Keith told us, "It's one of those days that never leaves you. If you were there, you'll know exactly what I mean." December 1982. Barnsley away at Liverpool in the League Cup. On paper, it was David versus Goliath. But what happened that day was something else entirely. We'd heard the numbers in the days leading up to it. Thousands were making the trip. But no one quite believed it until we actually got there. Over 17,000 Barnsley fans descended on Anfield that day. 17,000. For a small-town club like ours to take that many to one of the most feared grounds in England, it was unreal. We set off from South Yorkshire early afternoon. The snow was already hammering down, like something biblical. 6-foot snowdrifts in places, roads barely cleared. I remember the coach crawling along the M62, fogged windows, everyone wrapped up like they were headed for the Arctic. But spirits were high. Scarves, flasks, chants. The old lads with their pork pies and paperbacks. The younger lot already buzzing for the match and the atmosphere. A few lads had brought crates, most of them empty by the time we hit Manchester. You'd have expected to see a wall of Merseyside police as we arrived. After all, 17,000 away fans don't just sneak in quietly, but there were hardly any coppers about. We stepped off the coaches into a mix of snow and slush and just wandered toward the ground. That eerie Anfield silence. You'd think Liverpool fans would be out in numbers, but it was almost like they were waiting for something, watching. Some of us took a wrong turn and found ourselves by some old side streets near the Anfield Road end. That's when we first saw them, the Anfield Road crew. Local lads, older, harder, lurking near shuttered shops and alley corners. They didn't say much, just stood and stared, flicking cigarettes into the snow. There was menace in the air, like something ready to kick off, but never quite doing so. The fear was real, but it was more psychological than physical, just knowing they were watching you, waiting for a chance. We ambled into the ground, no ticket checks, no stewards shouting orders, just a strange calm before the storm. And then it started, the atmosphere. My God, Barnsley fans in full voice. "You'll never walk alone." We sang it louder than they did. I swear to this day, hearing 17,000 of us belting it out at Anfield still gives me goosebumps. They didn't know what hit them. We outsang, outroared, outpassioned the mighty Liverpool on their own turf. And for a good stretch of the game, we outplayed them too. We should have won that match. But football aside, it's what happened after the final whistle that has stuck with me the most. We were still buzzing as we filtered out, but you could feel the shift in energy. Anfield wasn't a friendly place, and the locals weren't keen on seeing a load of northern outsiders swaggering out with our heads held high. The short walk back to the coaches felt like miles. Snow still thick on the ground, the odd flare going off in the distance, lads slipping and sliding as they walked. Then chaos. Word spread quick. Graham Linstead had been slashed. Him and his group had been cornered near a boarded-up pub. Maybe 20 Liverpool lads surrounded them. First came the shouts. "Give us your scarves! Empty your pockets!" One tried to fight back, and that's when it happened. A Stanley knife across Graham's back. The blood was everywhere, on the snow, on his jacket, on the wall behind him. He collapsed, and we thought he was dead. 60 stitches he needed in the end. Could have killed him. The rest of us rushed back, trying to find our coaches. It was chaos. Some vehicles had moved, others blocked in. Ours was still there, but a few had taken damage. Ours got bricked. Windows shattered. Glass everywhere. The freezing air rushed in, mixing with the panic. Someone said a coach driver had been attacked, axe in the shoulder. Whether it was true or not, No one was laughing anymore. We eventually crawled out of Liverpool around 11 p.m, but the traffic on the M62 was backed up until nearly midnight. Some of the lads had taken their jackets off to plug up the smashed windows. It was absolutely Baltic inside, but weirdly, no one was moaning. The silence was heavy, not just from the cold, but from the weight of what we'd just experienced. That night summed up what football was like in the early 80s. Passion, pride, danger, the thrill of standing up for your town in hostile territory. You didn't go to places like Liverpool for a nice day out. You went to say we were here, and we weren't afraid. They battered us in the replay, of course. Dream ended. But that first leg, that day at Anfield, that was ours. For one snowy night, Barnsley ruled the red half of Merseyside, and no one who was there will ever forget it. Liverpool supporter Peter told us, "You see a lot from the Kop, not just the match, but the people, the movement, the atmosphere, the life of it all. And over the years, we've had some big nights at Anfield. European Cup finals, league deciders, big names, massive followings. But one that always stuck with me, for very different reasons, was a League Cup tie in December 1982 against Barnsley. Yes, Barnsley. Now back then, you didn't expect much noise or numbers from smaller clubs in the early rounds. You'd get a few hundred, maybe 1,000 if it wasn't too far. But Barnsley, they brought 17,000. I'm not exaggerating. It was like half the bloody town had turned up. I remember walking up Walton Breck Road with my mate Kenny, thinking we'd turn them over and be back in the pub by 10. But as we neared the ground, it was clear something was different. Barnsley fans were everywhere. Proper sea of red and white scarves, Yorkshire accents bouncing off the brickwork, lads singing in the freezing cold like they were already 3-0 up. Inside Anfield, it got even stranger. We're used to having the atmosphere that this is the Kop after all, but from the moment the teams came out, it was them you heard. And I mean heard. They weren't just singing, they were roaring, deafening, proud, defiant. Songs you'd never heard before, bouncing around the stadium. And when they sang You'll Never Walk Alone, I'll admit, hairs stood up on the back of my neck. They didn't just borrow it, they owned it, just for that moment. It was surreal. Barnsley, some second division underdogs, had turned Anfield into Oakwell for the night. Even some of the lads on the Kop nodded in respect. You had to give it to them. They'd come in the snow, in their thousands, and they were making the most of it. That's what football's about, isn't it? The game itself was tight. We weren't at our best. They came to play, not to park the bus. Should have scored, probably deserved to win on the night. There were groans from our lot, even a bit of tension. But still, nothing out of order, until full time. And that's when it changed. Leaving the ground, we saw the tone shift. Our own lot, the urchins, not the singing fans, but the proper firm, had clocked the Barnsley invasion early on, and they hadn't taken kindly to it. Word had spread they'd been waiting, near the coaches, by the alleyways, looking to restore the balance, as some would say back then. At first it was just noise, running, shouting. Then we saw them, Barnsley fans getting chased, slipping in the snow, trying to get back to their buses. Most weren't lads, some were families, older blokes, scarves flying. One lad, maybe 16, got cornered by the side of an old chippy and had his coat torn off him. Another got his face smashed against a metal bin. And for what? Because they dared to support their team too loudly. We followed at a distance, not part of it but too close to ignore. There was a small group of lads from our end, one with a Stanley blade, swinging wildly as a pack of Barnsley fans tried to retreat. I'll never forget one bloke, mid-30s maybe, shouting, "We're not fighters," just before going down holding his back. Blood on the snow. Absolutely shocking. And then the realization hit. This wasn't a clash of firms. This wasn't hooligan versus hooligan. This was one lot ambushing another, unprovoked, unprepared, outnumbered. I don't care who you support. That's not football. That's cowardice. I saw kids crying on the way back to the coach park. Windows smashed, bricks flying. One driver took a hit to the shoulder with what looked like a bloody hatchet. And all for what? A night that should have been remembered for football, for the noise, for the spirit Barnsley brought. It was now drenched in blood and fear. On the Kop, we prided ourselves on our voice, our wit, our passion. But that night, I felt ashamed, not of the club, but of some of the people who claimed to represent us. I'd watched one of the greatest away followings I'd ever seen, and then watched them get hunted like animals outside our ground. Fair play to Barnsley that night. They turned up in a blizzard, outsang us, out-supported us, and nearly outplayed us. And they did it with pride. I've never forgotten that. Football's changed a lot since the 80s. Safer, more sanitized, maybe too much for some. But when I see away fans today being able to bring their kids, wear their colours without fear, I think back to Barnsley in '82, and I know which version of football I prefer. We thank Keith and Peter for their recollections. It's clear that Barnsley took a load of fans to the match and outsung their opponents' fans by some way. It's also clear that they then had to endure the walk back to the coaches and trains afterwards. And as everyone knows, Liverpool was a hard place to go in Tykes days. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, share, like and comment, as it really helps our channel grow. Until the next video, bye for now.